One of the most difficult trees to photograph in flower are the Paulownias. And you'll see why as we go a little further on in this video. But this Paulownia kawakamii is rather obliging because it flowers down low. It grows to about 15 meters, and probably the spread of the tree is about 15 meters. It only flowers properly when we've had a really hot, dry summer like we had last year. This was planted only 16 years ago, so you can see the growth rates are absolutely phenomenal. But the thing with Paulownias is that they are basically blue flowered. The flowers of the 8 different species are really quite different. And this is staggeringly beautiful, with sort of an elephant's trunk coming out of the center of this pale blue flower. And the flower stalks themselves are here about coming on for 2 foot long, some of them, certainly 18 inches. And they're absolutely covered in flower, and not all the flowers are out yet. And what an amazing and fantastic display. Now this species of Paulownia kawakamii is quite obliging because it flowers before the leaves come, which not all the species do. And this was first introduced into this country in 1992 by Mark Flanagan, the late Mark Flanagan from Windsor, and Tony Kirkham from Kew. And they believed when they were collecting this in Taiwan that there were probably only 10 or so trees of Paulownia kawakamii still growing in the wild, and they were threatened by forestation. Subsequently, I think the collections of Paulownia kawakamii have been found in Western China, so it may not be that this species is quite as endangered in the wild as was originally believed. We have seen a good set of seed setting here on this tree after a good flowering season as we've got here. But Paulownias are quite promiscuous, and although the seed are easy enough to grow, sometimes the bees have visited more than one species, and the seedlings are not as pure as in this one. As we'll try and see in some other Paulownias, there's a range of colours and a range of different throats. The biggest flower is Paulownia fortunei, but unfortunately that's finished flowering about a month ago. It's very much earlier than the others. But what a wonderful tree this is. You can see the original plant at Kew, where it's about this sort of size, and it's trying to sucker and split like all Paulownias do. They're fairly hollow stemmed and very easily split out in the winter. But when they perform like this, a truly fantastic display, and the best thing in the garden here at Caerhays as we go into Chelsea Flower Show week. So this is the more common and much more widely grown Paulownia tomentosa, which comes from China. The flowers are of this gorgeous blue, and you see the lovely orangey indumentum on the calyxes. I'm afraid I've had to pull this branch down so we can see it more closely, but we'll have a look at the flowers against the blue sky in a minute. But you can see they have an attractive throat, but nothing like as interesting and large a flower as Paulownia kawakamii. But Paulownia tomentosa is widely grown, and on the website we've got some really good pictures of this Paulownia, which you can see. And if we now just try and capture a flower or two against the blue sky, you'll see exactly how quickly these Paulownias grow, something like 6 foot a year. And this is only for 5 or 6 years old, and this is the first time it's actually flowered properly. If it goes well, it'll be one of the most spectacular trees on the drive, but it's got a few years to go yet before we can see that. This is Paulownia tomentosa Lilacina, which was introduced into the UK in 1904, and you'll see that it's a much paler form than the pure tomentosa, which was much bluer than this. And you see in the center of the flowers these sort of lovely yellow ridges that run back into the center of the flower. Just a few purple spots on them, and unusually the flowers are really hairy on the back of the flower. And you see these nice calyxes. Now this branch has recently blown down, otherwise we'd have had a fair struggle to see this tree, which is probably about 30 foot tall. And unusually in our climate, this Paulownia tomentosa Lilacina does have a few flowers in the autumn, which is a bit of a bonus, but the proper flowering, as here, is in May. And the other thing you see with these Paulownias is that they have root suckers. And where the roots from the tree come up to the surface and see daylight, suddenly they start shooting again. And here we've got a couple of root suckers which we've allowed to grow on up. I think probably we'll pollard them and let them shoot again rather than let them form into great trees here. And Paulownias are one of those trees that you can hammer them down to the ground or down to about 6 or 8 feet and allow them to shoot again, which they will very vigorously. But by doing that, of course, you prevent them from flowering, because they're generally going to flower on the older wood rather than on the new growth itself. The new growth is generally blind. The flowers come from the old wood. So just glancing upwards, what a beautiful tree this is. Perhaps not quite as beautiful as pure Paulownia tomentosa for those of you who like the blue, but a very distinct and interesting tree nonetheless. And to finish off this little video, here we've got the first time flowering of Paulownia taiwaniana. Now, Paulownia taiwaniana is a hybrid which occurred in the wild between Paulownia kawakamii and Paulownia fortunei, which we haven't seen because it was over. Paulownia fortunei has much bigger flowers, and you can see here that we've got a larger flower, and fortunei has much more purple in the center, but this is nothing like Paulownia kawakamii that we saw. Anyway, I'm afraid we've just come to the end of what was the first flowering of this tree, and I'm afraid we've all missed it. But next year we might be able to do a little bit better. We haven't looked at more than 4 of the species of Paulownia that exist, and perhaps we'll do another video next spring and catch the variety, the species which we've missed. They're all Chinese. They all have very similar flowers, but when you look deeply into the throat, you see the difference between the species. And some of the leaves are more lobed than others, but I don't know if I can hold this branch for much longer, so off we go.